Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Days and welcome to this quick Funhouse theory video. I want this to be no longer than 8 minutes, so we are gonna go. The reason why we're doing this is because there's been a lot that's been happening in recent weeks in regards to the Funhouse. We haven't done a theory video in a while. I'm aware that Smackdown is coming up and we could get some really juicy developments there. But I wanted to give you my thoughts right now coming out of TLC. I think a big turning point was when Seth burnt down the Funhouse. You could argue that was the moment where Fun House Bray became set free. Could also be a coincidence, but we hadn't seen Fun House Bray in the arena, in the real world, before that point. Obviously, that happened, a real significant moment. Fast forward a few weeks, a month or so, and now we're seeing Funhouse Bray out in arenas having matches. And I would say that that was like a really significant moment. Someone actually entering the Funhouse. We didn't know that was possible. This was one of the first clues that the Funhouse was an actual physical place. Again, we didn't know if there'd be more developments with that, but there haven't been. Seth now has joined AOP and gone on to other things. So I'm not sure we're going to revisit that story. Certainly not anytime soon. So I think we kind of have to accept that the Funhouse is a physical place. We'd seen the puppets in the real world anyway. We had seen them backstage behind wrestlers in corridors. Bit weird. But now, we've had the Funhouse burnt down. We've got Funhouse Bray having matches. I think it's safe to say that this is a physical place. But I think another thing that's worth reminding as we move forward with this video is that the Fiend and Funhouse Bray, they are the same person. And the reason why I say that is because they've done such a good job of separating the two that it's easy to forget that they are the same person. They exist within the same body because there was a lot of people whilst watching Funhouse Bray at TLC. There was a lot of people that thought that Fiend was kind of standing guard over Daniel Bryan, which obviously isn't possible because, again, they are the same person. I thought it was also very noteworthy when the Fiend's image appeared on the Titantron because, again, they are the same person. And Funhouse Bray was in the ring, so how was the Fiend on the Titantron? I think it even took Funhouse Bray by surprise, and then he started saying, "He's here." So it kind of implied that it was Daniel that had done that. It was Daniel that had put that image on there to kind of cause a distraction. That distraction, of course, allowed Daniel into the ring. He had a hoodie up, and obviously he could then attack Funhouse Bray. So that's my take on that situation. And this whole thing, the Funhouse, everything to do with Bray, seems to be about identity. Identity. Funhouse Bray and the Fiend are two identities that occupy the same body. And obviously Bray has distanced himself from who he was in the past, his old identity. And seemingly he is resetting his opponents back to their true selves. He's taking them back to their true identities. He's done it with Finn Balor, that's kind of gone back to like a Prince Devitt character. He's done it with Seth Rollins, who's kind of gone back to being that architect, authority Seth Rollins. And now he's done it with Daniel Bryan, who has seemingly gone back to being American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. I'd love for him to do it with The Miz as well, because I don't feel like the current version of The Miz is really his true self. I feel like he's kind of putting a bit of a front on because he's got Miz and Mrs. and he wants to come across as this happy, approachable person. But The Miz that we knew for years and years and years was a heel, and I would really like to see heel Miz return. So if Miz stays in this feud, or maybe even if he doesn't, maybe the exposure that he's had to the Fiend and to Funhouse Bray already might be enough to turn him back to his true self. So I do think that this idea of identity is very, very strong when it comes to Funhouse Bray, comes to the Fiend, and it comes to the Firefly Fun House. And I think this is where things can get a little bit messy as well, because Liv Morgan, who I don't believe has got anything to do with the Fun House now, I think she's over on Raw, I think she's doing her own thing, but she obviously has got a gimmick very, very similar. She is also talking about leaving her old self, destroying her old self to embrace her true self. And she's going through seemingly a makeover process. And again, you know, it's very similar. It runs parallel to kind of what Bray and the Fun House has been about. So it's easy to see why people would think that she is connected. And I think that WWE have got to be very careful there, because AEW are actually doing 3 cults at the same time, and it seems a little bit samey. It seems a little bit messy. You've got like the Dark Order that are recruiting people from the real world to come and join them and be a part of something. Then you've got, I think they're called Nightmare Collective, which is like Brandy Rhodes, and she is trying to bring people into her little group, and she's trying to collect bits of hair, and again it feels a little bit samey. And then you've got the Inner Circle there, like a heel group that are trying to grow. They've been bringing in new members, and currently they're trying to bring in John Moxley. And again, they could be going after other people in the future. So, you know, you've got these 3 groups, these 3 cults that are all recruiting people on the same 2-hour show. There's a lot of people on social media saying that that's a bit overkill. Well, WWE maybe not going as far, but having 2 very, very similar gimmicks running on both Raw and SmackDown could be a little bit OTT. We've got a little bit of time just to quickly talk about the future. I think that we could see Miz go back to his true self. I think as well that Daniel Bryan, I think, has gone back to his true self. He can't stick around the Fiend for long, because I think the popularity, amazingly, is with Daniel Bryan, which kind of blows my mind. But yeah, I think that the crowd are really responding to him being reset. And having that refresh and that new look. So I think we need to get Bray away here, because this could be a Becky Ronda situation all over again. In regards to The Fiend and Funhouse Bray, I think that they could have matches on the same show. Same person, but we could get Funhouse Bray versus Miz in a rematch, and we could do Fiend versus Daniel Bryan on the same night. This has got a 3 faces of Foley kind of vibe to it. The final thing that I wanted to say is I do think now more than ever Funhouse Bray isn't real. I think that Funhouse Bray is the Fiend in disguise. How does the Fiend disguise himself? He disguises himself as Funhouse Bray. We've seen it a few times where he's lied to us in the Funhouse, and he's told us that the world isn't round. He's told us dinosaurs aren't extinct. Told us that our parents lie to us. Keeps trying to shut up Rambling Rabbit, who's got that secret. I think the secret is that there is no Funhouse Bray, and that the Fiend, the darkness, is all that exists now. And of course, we've just seen Funhouse Bray, like, going after the Miz's family. Make no mistake about it. Funhouse Bray versus the Miz, you might not have looked at it and thought that Funhouse Bray looked like a heel, but he absolutely was the heel. He was the heel. He had gone after Miz's family, and Miz was a face. Miz hadn't done anything wrong, but it's just the way that Funhouse Bray presented himself. It's all about identity. It's all about presentation. Right, I'm going to leave you at that, because I said we wouldn't go any longer than this. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's see how this progresses on SmackDown. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and hopefully see you again next time. Bye for now.